Now, as you can recall, on the 4th of November, we had the treatment being carried out to the Dasheen, post-harvest treatment using biological fungicides, the serenade and the lime sulfur. And as a control, we also have the ridomil, which was used as well. And then we had a treatment using water. So we had 4 weeks of assimilation temperature, 15 degrees Celsius, similar to the condition within the ship. And its journey to Europe. The 4th of December was at least 1 month since we had these Dasheen here doing the actual assessment. So the staff from the Ministry of Agriculture, every other 2 days will come and do their data collection. We have completed the first phase, which is the ship assimilation, and now we are doing the supermarket assimilation. So that is the reason for us being here this morning in this critical phase of this experiment. I was advised by the technician from the Ministry of Agriculture, and from what we observed this morning, being with them inside the cold storage facility, that the result is very positive and that we have seen results that is comparable or even better than the ridomil. We are on to something very positive and very beneficial to farmers in St. Vincent and Grenadines, particularly as it relates to the use of biological fungicides in the control to reduce the post-harvest losses in Dasheen ship into Europe. The technician from the ministry would explain further from what they would have seen so far. These are just preliminary results because the data have to be analyzed and compared to see which treatment give the best result overall. But what we are seeing so far is very promising and very interesting and very positive news for us.
Well, we initiated this experiment because we had massive spoilage into France. The protocols in France have changed. Ridomil is no longer accepted. So we had to find alternatives. So we turned to CARDI and the Ministry of Agriculture. CARDI have always been by our side ever since we started. And we have tested, and from empirical observation, the testing of the organic treatment is looking very good and very promising, as good and promising as the chemical. So we are very hopeful about the results of this. Now, this is very significant because this is not only important for St. Vincent, but this is funded by COLED, an EU organization, because they technically work with Africa, Pacific, and the Caribbean countries. And this treatment, once we have concluded and the success of it, would be available to farmers all over Africa and the Pacific, because right now they're having the same problem entering Europe. CARDI and the ministry is doing a job not only for St. Vincent, but for Africa and the Caribbean. We have just streamlined our organization focusing on climate smart agriculture, health and nutrition, because we believe that we must reduce our dependency on chemical fertilizer in order not only for the health of our people, but people all overseas now are asking for this. And the more we can have experiment like this, looking at organic alternative, and we are looking at that now. Our next step with CARDI, because we deal with a variety of crop, is to look at the organic now in the production phase, not only in the marketing phase, where we could reduce our dependency by incorporating green matter back into the soil. Even our technique in the growing of Dasheen is significant climate smart, because the whole system is used. And on the hillside, because of that system that we have used in producing Dasheen, it has reduced the slippage on the hillside by 99%. So we are significantly within range of climate smart agriculture.
Well, yes, so very interesting and very important is the fact that what we have observed in this experiment, the spoilage seems to be mainly from the pre-harvesting and some post-harvesting handling. For example, this Dasheen was cut at its base, right, as you can see. And this is where, after 4 weeks, in the cold condition, we are seeing some slight deterioration. What we would have observed as well too, when the Dasheen has been compressed, by being packed on one another, have been thrown, they have internal injuries. And those internal injuries, if they treat them, it may tend to reduce it to a certain extent. But those are the main things that we observe that is actually causing the spoilage of the Dasheen. Once we can able to address this at the field level and at the packing house level, plus with the treatment that we are going to apply, we can rest assured that we will have a high level of success as it relates to the transshipment of Dasheen to these markets. But in particular for Dasheen, you want when the buyers and the consumers get the Dasheen, that they have a good product, that they get their money's worth in terms of value. So that is what we observe in terms of the spoilage, is mainly from physical damage and also from compression damage and from the removal of the base of the Dasheen itself that give rise to the spoilage. But overall, once we address this, and we promised in 2025 to CARDI collaboration with ECTAD to have some training exercises, some capacity building workshop to actually educate farmers and to remind them of the importance of these pre and post-harvest handling practices, which are very, very critical and very important. Rather than transporting them in sacks to Kingston, if you can use boxes and field crates, these are much better. It might be a little costly in the first instance, but we would have better assurance of the enhancement of the shelf life of the product itself entering into the market. So yes, proper packaging is of critical importance. Sometimes I saw people transporting Dasheen in trucks high up, and people still sit on these sacks. And this cause compression damage to those at the bottom. Money already been paid, so the buyers are the one and the consumers that suffer in the end because of poor handling. So it's a very critical aspect in terms of the post-harvest and in Dasheen. If you use a soft brush to at least remove some of the soil, as this farmer sometimes use a knife to scrape and to cut, and this cut into the skin of the Dasheen, and that is the entry point for pathogen to enter. So you want to try and reduce using sharp object to clean Dasheen and use a piece of foam or soft brush to clean Dasheen to remove the soil. Once the market requires that as a means of treatment, that's supposed to be done in that way. What we are on to here is a very critical research work in the sense that we are making available the possibility for exporting to Europe using non-toxic chemical with high MRL level. And I just want to thank ECTAD for partnering with CARDI and the ministry, which has given us tremendous support. And some of the names I really want to highlight from the Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit: Mr. Basil Nash, Lucia Ballantyne, Veron Robertson, Donna Duncan Williams, Kenisha Matthias, and Mr. Marcus Richards for his invaluable support and assistance. We thank you all very much, the ministry, for their tremendous support all along the way. The ministry has been giving us significant support and assistance in this regard, and we really appreciate it, and we look forward to 2025 and for even more collaboration as we move forward to advance agriculture in Vincent and Grenadines.
We must also thank our EU partner, Colette, for providing the financial support to make this possible. Also, the Ministry of Agriculture and CARDI, I can't thank them enough. We have good markets for Dasheen, markets that are waiting for this result. Once we're able to get the results and everything is in order, I could see a significant increase in marketing of Dasheen from St. Vincent to the level of 5 times what we're doing right now from ECTAD point of view. In addition to that, the treatment would be also applicable to other crops that are being exported because it's organic, and this is significant. So we are doing something not only for St. Vincent, but for Europe and the wider Caribbean, and our African brothers and sisters would benefit. The reality is that your standard must be high, and once you have a very high standard, you don't have to worry about meeting export standard. The problem is that we lower standard for the local market too much, and that has been the problem. We need to improve. When you go and you see how people have produced selling in the market, you understand, it is disgraceful on the ground, in the sun, and in everything like that. That need to be addressed. Once we improve our local standards, then we don't have to worry about these standards outside. And that is significantly something that we and the Ministry and CARDI will be working on in the next few years.
We cannot have high standards for outside while at the same time we're having low standards for ourselves. So it's all important that we have to lift our standards both at home, for the region, and internationally as well. At the end of the day, consumer want the money's worth, and the onus is on us to be able to provide that sort of standards here in the region and internationally as well. So yes, that is something that we are obligated to do for our local consumers and for those in the regional and international market. We're going to put some of these Dasheen in supermarkets, and then we're going to make some donation to the different health institutions, hospitals, the prisons, Louis Poponet Home, and even send a few boxes to the Grenadines as a show of our corporate responsibility in giving back to the Vincentian consumers as well.
Some of the parameters that we check for on the Dasheen comb, we look for soft rots, fungal growths, also check the crown to see if there's any discoloration of the crown. During our record keeping, there's a form that we develop, and here we are evaluating 2 different varieties of Dasheen, the CARDI green and also our local varieties. So once we inspecting and the officer says something about the Dasheen, we record it accordingly. So there's two forms, one for the green and one for the local variety. We don't take any weight data, however, we use a capita so that we take the diameter of the rotted area, because over the period of time, the rot could increase in diameter. So you're gonna look for rot, if there's any soft rot. Also, consumers will want to buy a Dasheen that is firm, a Dasheen that has no fungal growth. So far, we have seen positive results. We saw few fungal growth, but nothing significant.